Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started on the PowerPoint presentation. This is starting a new business to-do list. Things I'm going to be talking about today are business structure and entity selection, what would be best for your new business, choosing your business name and getting licensed with your state, obtaining an employer identification number from the IRS, talk about different accounting methods, cash versus accrual, talk about record keeping and bookkeeping, what the difference is between a business and a hobby in the eyes of the IRS, talk about different types of business taxes, and also we'll talk about what it will mean to add an employee to your business as far as record keeping and taxes. So the first thing I want to talk about is business structure and the entity selection. So when you're starting a new business, one of the first things you need to think about is choosing what kind of entity your business is going to be. So you have the following choices for entity selection. You can be a sole proprietor, an LLC, a partnership, a C corporation, or an S corporation. So the easiest entity to set up would just be the sole proprietor. All you have to do is get a business license and you're good to go. There's no separate tax reporting needed. For tax purposes, you'll just file an additional page or two with your personal Form 1040, the Schedule C. So while it's easiest to set up, there's also the drawback of all of your profits being subject to self-employment tax, which is 15.3%. For the LLC, the LLC is a disregarded entity in the eyes of the IRS, so you will either be taxed as a sole proprietor if you're a single member LLC, or as a partnership if you're a multi-member LLC. You can also make an election to be taxed as an S corporation, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So if you're a single member LLC and you don't make the S corporation election, you're simply going to be taxed as a sole proprietor for tax purposes. It'll be again on the Schedule C as part of your Form 1040, and all your profits will be subject to that self-employment tax. If you're a multi-member LLC and you have not made an S corporation election, then you'll be taxed as a partnership, which I'll talk about in just a second. And also, again, if you make that special S election, then you will be taxed as an S corporation. So it's a partnership. It's when there are two or more owners sharing in the profits and losses, or if you're a multi-member LLC. There's no tax at the partnership level, so partnership is a flow-through entity. So if you are a partnership or a multi-member LLC, you will need to file a separate tax return, Form 1065. However, again, there's no tax at the partnership level. So you will receive a K-1 from that Form 1065, and you will record that income on your Form 1040. So each partner will get a K-1, and then you'll be taxed at the personal level. And again, all the income from a partnership is going to be subject to that 15.3% self-employment tax, unless you are a passive member of an LLC, in which case you may not be subject to self-employment tax. So next there's the C corporation, which is just a regular corporation. When people talk about double taxation, they're talking about a C corporation. Basically, with a C corporation, you have a separate tax return that you do need to file, and you will pay tax at the corporate level. And if you make any dividend distributions to the owners will again pay tax on those dividends on the personal level. So that's what people are talking about when they talk about double taxation, because the C corporation is subject to tax at the corporate level, and any dividends are taxed at the personal level. Last, there's the S corporation, which I was talking about earlier. That with the S corporation, you avoid that double taxation of the C corporation, and you can also potentially save on self-employment tax. Like the partnership, an S corporation is a flow-through entity, so there's no tax at the corporate level. You'll be taxed at the personal level. That's how you avoid that double taxation. There's no tax at the corporate level. And when I talk about saving on self-employment tax, basically the entire S corporation, the net income that you report on your personal taxes is not subject to the self-employment tax. However, with an S corporation, you are required as an owner to pay yourself a reasonable wage.